This is how I help Lena get a photo shoot ready and lose over 15 kilos for that photo shoot. And I'm going to teach you exactly how you can do that same too. Hi, I'm Nathan, I'm founder of Autonomy, and I helped over 1,000 South Asians get in shape and stay in shape forever using these exact methods. So let's check it out. So the first step of Lena's journey was to figure out how we're going to take her from 69 kilos down to 60, which was her original goal. And I say original for a big reason. And the first thing we do with our clients that have had coaches before or been on diets and failed miserably is that we actually do something called the no-go list. The no-go list is things that you've tried in the past or things that are common hurdles that make you fail, and listing them out so that we actually avoid them during the process. Most people will go blindly into diets not knowing if it's going to be useful for them, but just understanding that the result might come at the end because they've seen their friend do it. A no-go list helps you identify whether the diet is going to be useful for you, and it's useful for coaches like me to help you get results because I avoid things that haven't worked in the past or I can fix them. So these are the 4 things that Lena had as her no-go list that were always a struggle when she'd been on diets before. Her mindset around accountability, her mindset around doing the thing, being disciplined with it and being motivated. The second part is about having a rigid meal plan. So for example, she'd been on things before that she had to eat the same foods every single day, and then wondered why it wasn't working because you can't stick to something the same food every single day for 3 to 4 months at a time. You go insane. Then the next one is like workouts in the gym. She was made to go to a gym. She doesn't really enjoy a gym. She hasn't got the confidence to go there and the time as well, which is a massive barrier. So workouts in the gym was something that she'd always tried but always failed at. And the last thing is socializing. She was a social creature coming into her 30s. She wanted to be able to out there, friends, family, had a social job. So therefore, it always became an issue when she went on diets, tried to lose weight, and it wouldn't include the socials because she would be either restricted from not going at all, or she'd end up going and not losing weight. So we tried to fix all of these 4 areas. Now, what's interestingly enough is that most people would focus on the socials and the meal plan, which we did. But this mindset of discipline and motivation generally will come because of the rigid meal plans, because of not having socials part of your life. We see this with the Autonomy all of the time when we actually teach people to go out socially, how to eat out with their friends and family, how to have food that they like and is part of the social sphere of the community, whether it's traditional Indian food, whether it's family's food. They have to use less discipline and willpower because they're actually doing things they want to do, and that is easy, which is a massive part of Lena's journey, is making it super easy so that she doesn't have to use willpower and discipline. The way that we solved Lena's mindset was that we looked at the 4 areas of what kind of holds normal people back when it comes to discipline, motivation, and sticking to plans. First one is you have to check people's desire. Do they really want the goal, and what happens if they do not get that goal? So for example, if Lena does not achieve this goal, what does happen? Her confidence go lower. She can't fit into those dresses anymore. Like, what has she got to lose if she doesn't get this? Now, her desire was absolutely fine. She was super clear that she wanted this goal and she was willing to do the things that were necessary for it. The second one is poor diet advice. So when you get poor diet advice, it doesn't matter how much mindset, discipline, accountability, desire, motivation that you have, it's always going to be really hard if you're throwing a rock uphill by using poor diet advice and poor diet methods. So we changed some of her advice that she'd been given before around the rigid meal plans and around the week workouts and making it more specific to her. So we took that one out. And then the next one is looking at wanting or the value of the thing that you're getting to do. If you don't believe that the thing is going to work, if you don't believe that this diet is going to lead to a result that you'd like to get, it's hard to buy into. So for example, like some people believe that carbs are bad. So if there was a meal plan with carbs in, they would be fearful and apprehensive about going on it because they believe the meal plan would be bad or the carbs would be bad. Whereas when it comes to want and value, it's like, does she want to do the thing that we're asking her to do? So when we did our first call and our custom building call that I had with Lena, I asked her about the things that she was willing to do, the things that she wasn't willing to do. And we looked at exactly the meal plan structure that we laid out. And I said, do you believe that this could work for you? Do you believe that this would fit into your lifestyle seamlessly? Do you believe that you could do this for a long period of time? And she said, yes. So we had the value and we had the want. Now, the last thing is when you've covered off desire, you've covered off, shitty advice, you've covered off that the person wants to do it. The last part is the only part that you need to focus on once you've ticked that off, and it's practice. Once you have a clear route and a clear desire and a common goal and a common method to get there as a partnership between a coach and a client, you only have practice left. And there's a thing that most people forget, and it's called the shit to good scale. And most people forget that in order to get good at something, you have to start at shit. And most people don't like feeling like shit because they are shit at something and they never end up getting good at it. So what we had to take Lena through with some accountability was going from shit to good at a bunch of different things. So I will take you through those things like socializing and knowing what to do from a food perspective, planning out food, traveling, holidays, weekends away. You end up going from shit to good on things, and the gap between the two is accountability. So once you've got accountability and you're willing to practice, you can move up this spectrum on anything. So if you're really crap at discipline, start at shit and then practice it until it's good. If you're shit at going for your walks or habits or remembering to do a routine, start at shit and work to good. And what we'll do is put that accountability in there, and we'll speak to you every day to make sure that you actually practice it and you get good at it. And that's what we did with her. We did daily reports from Monday to Friday, and she would text over to me what she'd eaten, what her body weight was, how many steps that she'd done, and how she was feeling. And then we were able to get from shit to good on many things at the right time because we had that daily touch point and that accountability. Now, to solve Lena's problem of having a rigid meal plan and to put a meal plan in place, we opted for the 3 meals and 1 snack option in terms of creating structure throughout her day. Structure is a major foundation in actually doing the thing you want to. If you don't know what you're going to have for breakfast, lunch, dinner, at what times, you end up getting into a pickle and not being organized, not prepared enough, and then you end up skipping meals or picking the wrong option. So we ended up going for the 3 meals and 1 snack, but we also made sure, because Lena had been on meal plans before where she just felt like she was eating the same foods all of the time and it was super rigid, we ended up giving her a bunch of options on what we call our swaps document, which allows you to have plethora of options for any meal. So for example, like multiple 6 to 7 different breakfast options, 6 to 7 snack options, and then various different protein sources and carb sources along the way. So there's plenty of options for her to never get bored on a diet. Everything from the traditional South Asian food all the way to your, general chickens, beefs and fishes. So there's always a structure in place to create options so that you don't get bored. The second part is going to putting on the right amount of calories. 1,600 calories is where she started. And then most importantly, most people forget to reversely plan their day. Most people start breakfast, lunch, dinner, and then I'll have the snack. But actually what you want to do is to make sure that you're avoiding being hungry in the evenings. It's where most people are idle. It's where most people are watching Netflix. Where most people have the hunger. Most people should actually do the opposite of actually planning their day with starting with the last meal in the day and actually working downwards to a point where maybe breakfast is a little bit later, or having a bit more of a gap between breakfast and lunch because you're having that meal last. I would recommend having your bedtime, and I would recommend having a snack just before, and then having next meal 3 to 4 hours before that, and then 3 to 4 hours before that, and then 3 to 4 hours before that would be your structure for your day. Now, if these would catch you to 11 or 12 o'clock because you're staying up super late, firstly, don't stay up late and actually get to sleep. But secondly, is you can extend this meal out a little bit longer. It's better to be hungry in the mornings than it is better to be hungry in the evenings, because you won't go to bed hungry, but you can actually get on with your day with some coffee, some water, some Diet Coke between here and here to manage it better. Trust me, I failed on many diets because I didn't follow this structure. Lena's kryptonite in the past had always been socializing, whether it was from an Indian community perspective or it's actually socializing with friends and family. So we had to separate into 4 different areas to teach her exactly what she needed to do in those scenarios to get the best results and also be part of that community too. We look at Indian food education. So whether she was going around to her mum's house or her auntie's house, there was always an opportunity that food was going to be there, whether it was the non-veg or the veg. And therefore, we had to plan her and prepare her to look at exactly what she's looking at. When people see food, they see taste and delight and loveliness, especially with the Indian food. They don't see the calories that are in this. So we gave her a formal education on Indian food and the calories that are in this food. So when she saw it, she would recognize how many calories that could potentially be and start correcting her portion sizes based on the education that we gave her, and then allow her to combine this tactic with this tactic, which is called the 1 plate rule, to allow you to get the right amount of portion sizes for the food that you're eating. So the 1 plate rule is technically where you have a plate of food, but to limit your portion sizes, you go that as veggies, you go that as protein, and then you have 1 carb. Now might be 1 roti, that might be a couple of spoonfuls of rice, but it allows you to get a good Indian food dish in or out with family or eating friends and family's food, but it doesn't allow you to blow over your calories if you just stick to the 1 plate. It's super, super useful. Now, when she was going a little bit more rogue 21, she wanted to have a little bit more alcohol in a day when she was going out for dinner, for example, and have a few drinks. We used a buffering sequence, which was just quite simply remove her snack and then remove the carbs from meal 3, allowed her to have 500 calorie little buffer there, and that allows for 3 to 4 Proseccos or 3 to 4 gin and tonics, which allows her to stay within her calories. And then we combine the other 2 strategies, actually the alcohol education and the buffering, to create more of awareness around drinking. Because alcohol, most people like to go for the cocktails, the margaritas, the espresso martinis, the strawberry daiquiris, and they realize that they're the highest amount of calories on the menu. So actually one of those could be 350 calories, whereas we look to optimize her alcohol education by looking at gin and tonics, tequila, Prosecco, all around the 90 to 110 calorie mark per one, which means for that one tequila sunrise or that strawberry daiquiri, she's getting 3 other drinks, which is a lot more effective in her alcohol education. But then what we also do is to create room for this alcohol to make sure she's still dropping fat at the same time, is that she would take away her snack and she would take away the carbs from meal 3, and that would create around a 500 calorie buffer, which gives her that buffer to drop fat and drink alcohol. So after we put those tactics in place, for the next 3 months, Lena lost 10 kilos and actually achieved her goal and got actually below where she wanted to get to. She never thought it was possible. She always wanted to get past that 60 kilo marker, and she ended up in like 3 months being down to like 58 and 59 kilos. Now the beautiful thing about that is when you lose 10 kilos, your body shape changes, your confidence changes, your mood, your mindset changes, and you end up getting in a much better position than you were before. But for Lena, she wasn't done. Losing 10 kilos can be amazing, but when you have that new level found confidence and you know that you want to lose some more, you just never was able to get the first 10 off, it sparks something different in her to be able to set that new goal. But most important thing, when you look at new goals and you look at losing 10 kilos, we have something within the business called the curse of the 10 kilos. It's when people lose 10 kilos and they end up start getting complacent because they're in a much better place than they were before, but they're also not at their goal yet, or they're not where they need to be to learn to maintain and actually reverse diet into their lifestyle. So most people end up being complacent, they don't learn the lessons and end up rebounding their weight back. So we wanted to avoid that. We wanted to avoid her going backwards. We wanted to see what is possible next, and we want to challenge her to something new. And the only way to do that, and the best way to do that, is a shoot. Because the shoot gives you something to work towards that is bigger than yourself. You've got to now think about how you're going to look on the day, and it gives you a metric to work towards. And it'll be scary as well, but think about it this way. Having pictures of yourself in the best shape possible sets a new standard too. The amount of people that I go to shoots with and we get in amazing shape, they see themselves in that camera and they go, wow, I can't believe that's me. That sets a new level of standard for your level of living so that you'll never gain that weight back. It's almost like an insurance policy to go, I am not going to go back to where I was before. I'm going to stay in the shape, and the efforts that I've made here are going to stay. So that's why we challenged her to doing a shoot, not only to stop the complacency, to not go backwards, but also to challenge her to something that she never thought of before. And she always had in the back of her mind that she might want to do something like that. So this was just a push over the edge for Lena. So being able to take Lena down 10 kilos has been amazing. We did it in such a sustainable way that she was able to keep on repeating that as she went through that process. She lost even more weight as we went through Christmas, all the way till around about February, until we decided that we would do that shoot. Now, when you're looking at doing a shoot, it's an opportunity to actually up the ante, get further results, and you've got a deadline so you know it's going to finish at the end of it. I like to say at the start of a diet, you diet sustainably. At the end of it, when you've got a photo shoot in mind, you do the unsustainable stuff and then go back to the sustainable stuff later. It's better than doing the unsustainable stuff at the beginning and trying to learn the sustainable stuff after the shoot. It's like, it doesn't really work. Do the sustainable way, then make it a little bit unsustainable by doing some of the extra things, and then go back to your sustainable way because you've done it before and you know already you can practice it. So the 3 things that we did to get Lena's shoot ready was, 1 is what's the worst that could happen. So we started looking at how we were going to get over the mindset blocks of that complacency. So we're taking 1 kilo at a time. We set another date, another time, another weight that we were going to aim towards, get down into the 50s, get down to 52, aim for 51, those things. What's the worst that can happen for dreaming bigger, which is a massive part. You've already won because you've already lost a bunch of weight. The second part is we had to up the activity. The remaining weeks, we wanted to make sure that she was looking as best as she could on the shoot day and use that unsustainable approach for that last couple of weeks. So we actually got to a point where she was doing 20,000 steps a day, and we went from 15 to 20. So the way that you do that is really easy. You break down the time demands of each one and you slot it into your diary. 90 minutes of walking is 10K steps. So that means she had to do 180 minutes of walking. Okay, how do you fit that in today? Well, 30 in the morning. You might get 60 during the day. You might get another 30 in the evening, 20 minutes post-workout. getting your normal steps on a day-to-day basis just adds up to another 5,000. So you're going to grab that 180 minutes and standardize it within your routine, because there's nothing worse than people hoping to get 10K steps, 15K steps, or 20K steps. If you have it in your diary as blocks, like you would treat a meeting or you would treat something in your diary, that is the best way to be when you know that you can be repeatable and you can get these steps in. And those moments, you had a treadmill at home, you really utilized that treadmill and really went for it in the evenings, mornings, daytime to get the most out of it, just as that final push to up the activity. And the last thing is, when you are transitioning from sustainable dieting into that unsustainable push, you do want to have a period of no, because you want to limit distractions, you want to limit the opportunity for you to get less results than what you're capable of. In those moments, if you bear in mind she'd done 6 months already of sustainable dieting, going out most weekends for dinners, drinks, family events, and she'd had Christmases, all of the things, and done really well. So now is a case of taking away some of that and just saying, no, for the next 6 to 8 weeks, we're just going to put that on hold. Whilst we know we can go back to it later, we're going to achieve something epic. So being able to say no and dial in 7 days a week, all the food weighed, all the food exacts, so we know that when we come out that 8 weeks, it's the best results possible. So a period of no is great. And if you ever want a clarity, a mental headspace of like clearing out the old dust, settling with the new stuff, just say no to everything for a long period and you'll have high levels of clarity. You'll be able to focus on yourself and get your amazing results for yourself if you feel like that's been a big area for you. I like a period of no, especially at least once or twice a year. It refreshes you, reacclimatizes you to self-priority, and then you actually get better results in all areas of life. That's it. 17 kilos down from Lena, photo shoot ready, incredible results. And it was just amazing to go through that process with her. And hopefully you can see the method in the madness to be able to get someone 17 kilos off, photo shoot ready, who'd already been dieting before, who hadn't made any results, who'd never got past 60 kilos before. It was a truly honorable experience.